Welcome to Season 3 of the Black Empowerment Hub podcast. I'm your host, Jacqueline Malone, CEO of Blind Resistance Clothing Brand, where our tagline for the culture by the culture represents our commitment to empowerment, sustainability, and uplifting underserved communities. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you will never miss an episode.
This episode is brought to you by the Support Black Excellence Foundation and their Support Excellence Initiative. At the Support Black Excellence Foundation, we're on a mission to foster a brighter future for all, particularly in underserved Black communities. Through strategic partnerships, mentorship programs, community service projects, and financial initiatives, we are committed to driving meaningful change where it's needed most. We invite you to join us in this remarkable journey of progress and transformation. Together, we can turn our vision into a reality. Let's shape a future that is equitable and inclusive, where empowerment, elevation, and excellence intersect to create a legacy of positive change. Thank you to the Support Black Excellence Foundation and their Support Excellence Initiative for sponsoring this podcast.
Today, we're joined by Jerome Kava, a boundary-breaking violinist and violist from Chicago, Illinois, who's bridging classical tradition with modern innovation. As a concertmaster for the National Dear Evan Hansen Tour and a veteran of Broadway hits like Kinky Boots and West Side Story, Jerome brings unmatched energy to every stage. Off stage, he's a composer, improviser, and tech-savvy performer, crafting immersive soundscapes with loop pedals and more. From Yo-Yo Ma to candlelight concerts, Jerome is reshaping what it means to be a 21st century musician. It is my pleasure and absolute honor to welcome Jerome Kava to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you. I couldn't wait to have you on the show. I was excited.
Me too. I've never done anything like this before, so this is very cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I'm the first here. Let's get started. We're going to jump right in, and I want to have you take us back a bit. What first drew you to the violin and viola? And in that, what was the moment you knew this would be your life's path?
Absolutely. Well, I was born into a family of musicians. My mom played piano. My dad played violin. My mom's dad played piano. My dad's dad played violin. My mom's brother played viola. My cousin played clarinet. It was turtles all the way down. And so I've always felt like my path to music was somewhat inevitable, but in a really warm and wholesome way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And you've trained classically, but now move between genres with such fluidity. What was the moment you started breaking out of the so-called classical box?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first time was back in middle school. I was in the theatrical production of a play called Rumors, which seemed like a sort of knockoff of Rent. But I was asked to be a strolling violinist in one of the scenes. And in addition to that, the teacher asked if I would be comfortable playing out in the lobby while the audience showed up for the play. And I thought that was really cool because I would get to improvise and play in front of people in a less strict and stuffy way. But my mom was furious when she found out that they asked me to do this. She said it was very disrespectful and they were using me and it wasn't a good look. And I remember being really disappointed because I just wanted to play in front of people. I didn't really care. And I still ended up playing in the play, which was really fun to do something so different. But that that forbidden nature kind of stuck with me. I always wondered, what is this classless approach to art that I'm missing out on? And then the following year, I discovered my stepdad's Nirvana CD and listened to it quietly when my parents weren't home. And I had a great time, even though I also was very embarrassed and ashamed to find myself enjoying such unprofessional music.
Yeah, well, Nirvana, that is really good.
It is really good, yeah.
That is some good music. Yeah, sorry you experienced that, but at the same time, it's good you experienced that. because it taught you a lot of just being free and just enjoying music, I would think. Chicago's music scene is famously diverse. How has being based here influenced your sound and approach to performance?
I couldn't agree more. Chicago is a very warm and special place, especially when you consider the size of the city. And I found so many beautiful personalities here, and that's allowed for so many unique and wonderful collaborations that I wouldn't otherwise have been involved with. I improvised alongside a ballerina once while she was improvising. I was part of a pop-up mob of a conductorless orchestra where we performed Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony with the Civic Orchestra without conductor at the shops at Northbridge downtown off of Michigan. And I performed the musical underscoring to a strictly theater play, The Hound of the Baskervilles, where I ended up also emulating the sound of the hound on violin.
All of that sounds so much fun and just enjoyable. I can imagine you having fun experiencing all of that and just being with that improvisation is such a wonderful thing. Let's talk about Broadway a bit. I can't imagine being on Broadway, and I really shouldn't say that because you never know. Life takes you in so many different places. Um, but to be a concert master for a national Broadway tour, like Dear Evan Hansen, which I mentioned at the top, what was it like to be part of such an excellent production? And are there any surprising challenges or behind the scenes stories you can share?
Absolutely. Well, I've been touring for just over a decade now, and it's really surprised me. What I thought would drive me crazy doesn't drive me crazy, and what I thought was going to be the easiest thing in the world finds itself to be a bit of a challenge. I thought it would be boring or crazy making to play the same music the same way every night, but really you're trying to recreate the same show every night, which is an impossible task. And everyone's performing a little bit differently. Someone always does something. And the audience is always new. So you get to hear it with fresh eyes and fresh ears. And you're traveling with your coworkers, you're eating with your coworkers, you're performing with your coworkers. Sometimes you're doing other things with your coworkers. And all of that is happening in a condensed timeline because every week feels like 2.5 weeks, and time just kind of gets compressed. I think the hardest thing about being on tour is finding time for yourself and finding ways to stay grounded and engaged without feeling like you're running yourself out. One of a funny behind the scenes story is one of our music directors would employ a rating system based on Buffalo Wild Wings sauces. So if a show was very fine and sweet and everything was good, it would just be a teriyaki or honey barbecue. But if it got a little more spicy, it would be a little garlic parm. If someone flubbed their lines or if there was a mistake, and if we had to stop the show or if there was something really, really bad, it would be blazing or blazing reformulated.
Each show you've played, Kinky Boots, Annie, West Side Story, they each have their emotional universe. How do you adapt your playing to match each different energy?
Oh, well, that's always been the easiest thing for me. I've always had a knack for matching energies or pitch. When I was about, I don't know, 1 to 3 years old, I was basically one of those animatronic parrots where you can press a button and then they play back whatever you say. And then also, I guess the term classically trained is a bit of an umbrella term because even within the scope of classical music, there's quite a wide variety of genres and styles that are involved. And as fledgling musicians, we end up learning quite a bit of them, even within something like the Suzuki book method, which is designed for beginner students to learn music using their ears. They learn so many different styles within just the first few, and then transitioning from that to something more jazzy or bluegrass or rock and roll is no more difficult than just listening and playing it back. In fact, I've heard the secret to good chamber music and good acting and good improv is being able to listen and then respond as empathetically as you can.
I love that. And that Suzuki method is interesting because I want to move into improvisation more and sound experiments and things like that. And I had a question about that improvisation a little bit. I'm probably going to skip ahead, but because you mentioned the Suzuki method. And I remember back in the day, we call it jam sessions, and you just get together, the whole band gets together and you just start playing and jamming. And so I always saw that as being such a fun thing to do. And it's really great to learn your craft while just having a great time. And so that Suzuki method, I'm really impressed. There's a name for it, like a proper name for it, you see. But we called it jam sessions back in the day. So tell us a little bit more, dive a tiny bit deeper into the Suzuki method and how that uh, played a role in your music and how that took you. Did it change your approach or impression about your music playing when you went through that process?
Absolutely. Because the method is designed initially for beginner children to learn music just by ear, and then they incorporate reading music later. The first few Suzuki classes were a bunch of kids in one room and everyone trying to play together. And even though beginner violin sounds rather trying, if you've ever happened to hear, the process of getting together as a community and creating music is something that really stayed with me. And everyone playing together was something I really appreciated. And uh, I didn't stay with the uh, technique very long because we ended up moving teachers. But figuring out that you can have anyone approach music and find something to enjoy and find a way to play together at varying levels of proficiency. That's something that's always stuck with me, and how accessible music can be.
That's right. It's fun, you know? No restrictions on you. You're also known for using loop pedals and modern gear. Tell the studio audience first what loop pedals are and what inspired that shift into the world of live looping and electronic textures.
Absolutely. A loop pedal is a typically digital device that allows you to instantly record and play back tracks, and you can layer multiple tracks at the same time and very quickly create an entire song, or at the very least, a sketch of one. Something that inspired me to do that was there was a class I took in high school, a MIDI class, computer music class, and I discovered how easy it was to create a song simply using the loops in the GarageBand program on the Mac, and just the ease and the play. It felt like playing around with music rather than working on it or composing it. And I I thought about it until 4 years later, and someone had a large loop pedal, a Boss RC300, in their apartment, and I ended up playing on the little guitar and couldn't stop thinking about it. And then about 12 years ago, I got my first personal loop pedal, and every chance I get, I try to play around on it, and it's just the best. It's so fun.
I can see that in your eyes and your face, how you light up talking about that. That's amazing. And could you describe one of your more experimental performances, like from candlelight to drone art concerts, and how the audience responded?
Absolutely. There was a Yeah, the candlelight concert we did was really great. It was a Taylor Swift concert, so a string quartet performs arrangements of her songs, and between every four or so songs, we have talking points where we'll talk about what she was thinking when she composed the song, what the song's about. And this was a really interesting concert for me because I wasn't that familiar with the music of Taylor Swift. And after the concert, I was very familiar. And it really struck me just what a great storyteller she was over the course of her albums and the songs and the process of performing for the audience and talking to them was also very cool because the audience felt very engaged and they knew the songs. They're like folk songs now, and it's such an impressive zeitgeist that her music has been. So that's something that really stuck with me, just how you can involve the audience in the songs and how to talk to them. And I'm hoping to incorporate more of that in my future performances as well.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah, and Taylor Swift, I actually really enjoy watching her stage productions. I haven't been to a concert because it's just too crowded. It's a lot happening. But I do whenever it comes on, they usually show it on the streaming platforms after. But I love watching her full production. She really puts because that's what I love to watch. So she really puts on a really, really nice show. So it's amazing that you got a chance to partner there with her. I think that's such an incredible feat there. And what advice would you give classically trained musicians who want to break into composition or improv?
Well, I feel like classical music generally teaches you how to play the right way and that there's a wrong way of playing. There you have the right notes, you have the wrong notes, good rhythm, bad rhythm. Make sure to cringe at your mistakes and solemnly nod if you happen to do something right. I don't know, the whole attitude. So, my biggest advice would be to find a way to create an emotionally safe place for yourself to have fun making mistakes. Be comfortable playing an unexpected note. I feel like the first step is to make that boundary a little more permeable. And maybe you can put on a metronome and play scales and randomly change whether you're going up and down. Maybe you do the same thing for arpeggios. Maybe you practice pentatonic scales as often as you practice regular ones. And slowly you end up learning the instrument because classical music can teach us to play compositions, but if you want to improvise or compose on your own, you need to learn to play the instrument itself, and that involves learning all the notes and the space between them.
Mm, very nice. Yo Yo Ma. Mm. Yo Yo Ma is one of my all time favorite composers. I love Yo Yo Ma. You've collaborated with him and other artists like Josh Groban. What have you learned from shaping or sharing, I should say, the stage with such musical icons?
Um, it's been absolutely phenomenal. Something that's always stuck with me is that uh, any celebrity, especially if they're really talented or skilled, they those artists never act jealous or envious of the success of others, and they usually have a great sense of humor and are always gassing up other people and supporting them. And ce- celebrity culture can be a vicious place to exist, and those who succeed do so by virtue of sharing and connection and lifting others up and never putting them down.
Let's dive deeper into that just a bit. You're composing, or let me rephrase that. When you're composing or collaborating, what do you look for in a creative partner?
A really great question. Well, I think choosing the right partner is very important. It's as important as choosing the right instrument because it completely changes how everything is going to go. You need someone who's able to listen uh, very well, and not just to music, but to other people, and having someone who's able to present their own ideas while also being open to incorporating yours. Which means that they need to be more curious than egoic, someone who asks more questions than tries to make statements. Um, and I think flow chemistry is something that is quite ineffable and difficult to understand, but when you feel it, you do. When time kind of disappears and you can't tell whose idea is whose, I think that is so incredibly important. Uh, and definitely a sense of humor, because things are always going to go wrong. There's going to be some scheduling issue or something won't work technically, and it really is nice to be able to laugh about it with someone, because at the end of the day, we're doing this because we love to do it.
Whenever I have a creative and passionate guest on the show, I always want to pick their brain about where a thing will be headed or is headed.
Yeah,
Where do you think music and the role of modern musician is headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
what a great question. It's well, I suppose for starters, the term musician is going to need to have a few more hyphenates added to it, because in even now, you need to be able to be not just a competent musician, but a producer, a content creator, a community builder, and even some tech savvy entrepreneurship wouldn't go amiss. We have AI now, which is important to learn to use as a tool, uh, and merely that. Because for the short term reality of creating songs or drafts or anything like that, it can really save a lot of time for a lot of people and make music even more accessible. But I think authenticity is going to be a really big word in in the near future, because people are going to really start to care who created what part of what art, how much we can be proud of, and how little we ought to care. Uh, I think because we have so much more accessibility, uh, I've, algorithms are going to push people to um, listen to music more based on vibes than artists, and that can create a greater condension of subcultures and subgenres. So I'm excited to see a lot more small music venues and smaller chamber events. And I think touring is going to do the same thing. It's going to sort of bifurcate into very large festivals and huge productions, and then small, intimate acts or even live stream tours that people do sometimes. And eventually, especially with things like Bandcamp or Patreon, these sort of subscription microfunding things are already becoming more prevalent than sales from records. Uh, so I'm hoping that eventually it's going to really become a nice, warm sort of tub that everyone gets to splash around and hear music that they otherwise wouldn't hear quite easily. They wouldn't need to reach too far because someone in their group of people is probably also in a bunch of other groups. I would be amiss if I didn't mention how important mental health and the concept of artist sustainability is, because while you're trying to accomplish all of this and make your mark and be happy and popular, it's so easy to get burned out. It's so easy to give more than you are able to recharge. And it's important to have a goal in mind that doesn't rely on something quick or simple or viral, because it's going to take more than an inside joke to make your career.
I'm so glad you touched on the mental health piece. Thank you for that. Yeah, because that is so important in life and everything that we do. And I'm also glad that you touched on the point that it will take more than that little viral moment. It is bigger than that. And so, really, that sustainability through and taking your time in cultivating your craft and learning who you are through the process of it is so important to sustainability within the genre. So thank you for that beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so tell us what you have going on. So, what current or future projects are you working on now?
Absolutely. I am performing a drone art show down in Bridgeview, Illinois, where we're going to perform The Four Seasons by Antonio Vivaldi alongside a few other classical works with a string quartet, while 100 or so drones are going to be flying in the air and shaping all sorts of interesting storytelling devices, I assume. But it's going to be great fun. I'm really looking forward to that. And in the near future coming up, I'm going to do more pop-up concerts. I'd like to do a sort of Lakeshore Drive trail event where I'm going to find a way to make my loop music creation ambulatory and make a little casual parade going up the trailhead.
Oh my
Let's see if
God.
that works. Something fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that seems fun and beautiful. Yeah, speaking of fun, so let's play a little game. Okay, this is a fun rapid fire game. Okay, so I'll call out two options and you pick your favorite. Can't think about it, you just got to go. Okay,
Yeah.
it's going to be quick. There's not
Hmm.
too many of them. Okay, ready? Stick or electric violin?
Acoustic.
Knew it. Beethoven or Bjork?
Beethoven.
Dream collab, alive or gone?
Alive.
Pre show ritual.
Breathe.
Now, this episode has been very educational, but we always like to leave our studio audience with a bit of educational advice. But first, what's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self as a musician? And then one you'd give a young artist today?
Some advice I would give myself when I was younger is to look for more opportunities to play with people and not just for the sake of performance, but just for the sake of, like you said, for jamming um, and just meeting people and experiencing music together. And for someone who's young and getting started, find a reason to do music that matters for you. Find an intrinsic motivating factor that won't be affected by other people's opinions or preferences or anything. Find why you love it, because that is going to be your guiding light.
Hmm, beautiful. Okay, fill in the blank. Music is.
The space between love and desire.
I knew you were going to come up with something so good. Wow, the space between love and desire. Now, what does that mean to you?
Um, I think that love is something you may feel like you have, and desire is the sense of longing for something you don't. And in music, even in something completely atonal or aleatoric, where it's composed by random chance, there's always some sort of story that we as listeners create that plays between the sense of containment and the sense of release, or the sense of having something and the sense of losing it. And so to me, I think that's what love and desire imbue.
Hmm, you're poetic. You're very poetic. Jerome, how can music lovers follow you and support your art?
I'm I'm on Artisan Animal. on Instagram, and artisananimalcollective.com is a website that once I get up and running, it's out there. I just feel like I need to adjust some digital parameters in order for it to be easier to find. But Artisan Animal Collective is the website, and Artisan Animal is my Instagram.
Jerome, thank you for sharing your time, talent, and insight with us today. Your journey and artistry are truly inspiring. Loved
Thank you so
having you on the
much.
show.
Thank you.
What a journey. It's been an absolute honor having Jerome Kava on the show today. From the concert hall to the Broadway stage to experimental soundscapes, Jerome reminds us that music isn't just performance, it's evolution, connection, and fearless expression. If today's conversation inspired you, be sure to follow Jerome and explore his latest work. Big thanks to our sponsors, Support Excellence Media, for helping us spotlight voices that truly matter. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who loves music and creativity as much as you do. As always, stay empowered, stay involved, and remember, real change begins with us, within our communities. See you next time.